Okay, Matthew chapter 20. This one is the parable of the workers in the vineyard. All right, put your seatbelt on for this one. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. Now, when he had agreed with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right I will give you." So they went. Again, he went out about the sixth and the ninth hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle, and said to them, Why have you been standing here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one hired us." He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right you will receive." Okay, this isn't the one I was thinking of. That's coming up. So this is another one. 8. So when evening had come, the owner of the vineyard said to his steward, "Call the laborers and give them their wages, beginning with the last to the first." And when those came who were hired about the 11th hour, they each received a denarius. But when the first came, they supposed that they would receive more, and they likewise received each a denarius. And when they had received it, they complained against the landowner, saying, "These last men have worked only 1 hour, and you made them equal to us who have borne the burden and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them and said, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what is yours and go your way. I wish to give to this last man the same as to you. Is it not lawful for me to do what I wish with my own things? Or is your eye evil because I am good? So the last will be first, and the first last. For many are called, but few are chosen." Okay, now this one. So, I mean, if you just look at this in a worldly perspective, in the sense of the workplace, the marketplace, that kind of thing, of course it would look unfair. Anybody would come to that conclusion, but this is not talking about work, about real labor. This is, again, speaking of spiritual things. So in that context, that's what's being referred to here, with them being equal in the end. And then beyond that, I mean, I don't know exactly where that would apply. Is this like Old Testament versus New Testament or that kind of thing? I don't know. But I find this part interesting. Or is your eye evil because I am good? I mean, you could look at it like, okay, the ones who worked all day were cheated out of a fair salary. But you could also look at it that the ones at the end were given a bonus on top of the fair salary that everybody got, which, I know if you're looking at it in a labor way, it still, of course, wouldn't be, fair. But this is a spiritual parable, so, but you can look at it that way too, like the glass is half empty or half full kind of a thing, like this is not minus, it's plus over there. But again, it's addressing spiritual things, so it's not about work and money for pay for your work, okay? So, and then this is the point of it all. So the last will be first, and the first last. Okay, so that was the whole point that was being made here, and that was in the last one too. So this is, I think, is more about that whole, the church age versus the whole time before that age. But anyway, and then here and beyond that, I don't have any extra insight. That's it, sorry. Okay, for many are called, but few chosen. Okay, and so this relates to that too. And so here, let me see this chosen thing here. So we have, okay, there are no other references down here. I'm just checking if there's something else, but no. Okay, now this goes back to how it works with salvation. Okay, I mean, the call goes out to all, really, the whole world. And then, some answer the call. And so ultimately, few are chosen. So there is sort of a selection process here. And that's it. And that's how the choosing works. It's not in that other way. Okay, it's in this kind of a practical way. And I think of the Bible verse, run the race to win. Okay, that's what it was. Oh, that was on my mind earlier when I said this in the earlier video about resting on your laurels, like that saying. And that's people who, they were successful maybe in their younger life, and then they just kind of take it for granted that that's how it will always be. And then 20 years later, let's say they sat in the easy chair, and then they get out and they want to do something, and they realize they can't do what they used to be able to do anymore. But they thought they could. They took it for granted, although they didn't exercise that whole time. They were resting on their laurels, like thinking because of what their ability was before, they took it for granted that that's how it would always be. But it wasn't. So don't make that mistake. And then that verse came to my mind about run the race to win. Okay, we're running the race to win. We're not sitting in an easy chair or lying in a hammock. So that's it. And that kind of goes along with this. We're running the race to win. Okay. If there is some kind of thing like that going on, I want to make sure, I'm in the finalists group. Okay. All right. So that all came together. That's interesting. Okay. 17. Now Jesus, going up to Jerusalem, took the 12 disciples aside on the road and said to them, behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and to the scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles to mock and to scourge and to crucify. And the third day he will rise again. Okay. And that's all it says right here. So, I mean, this kept going over their heads. It didn't really sink in. The third time he says it, and it's not sinking in. And then when it happens, they're totally caught off guard by it. They're totally surprised. And then later, after that, it comes together for them like, oh, that's what he meant. And, oh, he'll rise again. And he did. Oh, okay, now I get it. So that's how it happened with them. So, all right. 20. Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to him with her sons, kneeling down and asking something from him. And he said to her, what do you wish? She said to him, grant that these 2 sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left, in your kingdom. But Jesus answered and said, you do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They said to him, we are able. Okay, so he was talking about this up here, right? All the torture he went through. And they didn't get it, that's, like, and here you see the insight that if you want to be in a place like that, of that position of power, well, leadership or ruling or whatever, authority, you have to go through this kind of thing. And that's where you get the saying, no cross, no crown. It's not just an easy path and then you get all these rewards. No, it works like this. So that's why it's like the more you seek in this way, the better it is. In other countries, I mean, here you really have to try, but for now. But in other countries, all they have to do is, go out, some other countries, and share the gospel a while, and they're already going to be persecuted and put to death. And, and then the greater their reward. There's a thing called a martyr's crown. So there are all kinds of rewards this way. And that's the road to go on. It's not the easy chair road, okay? They're the ones who'll be blessed in eternity, not the ones lying in a hammock all their life. So that's how this works. Okay, so they're the ones, that's what's to be sought after and envied, not living a most blessed life now in the flesh of the world, okay? Not the comforts of the easy chair, okay? Not that, not at all. It's this here, okay? That's what he said, carry your cross daily, right? All that discipleship stuff I covered in the last few chapters, and it comes up again. So it will come up again. All right, they said to him, we are able. So he said to them, you will indeed drink my cup and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with, but to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it is prepared by my Father. So like, all right, and they did get martyred, okay, all of them, but maybe not John. I don't know with that case. They say different things, but mostly they were martyred, okay? But they still might not get this, right? Because it was allotted in a certain way, okay? For whom it is prepared by my Father. So, so that's it. So be careful what you ask for. Okay, 24. And when the 10 heard it, they were greatly displeased with the two brothers, right? Then they'll get indignant because it's like, oh, they're trying to get on top of us here. That's not right, Okay, now we get this, 25. But Jesus called them to himself and said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who are great exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. Okay, so here he puts it all, straightens it all out when it comes to the whole thing with hierarchy, elitism, authority. Okay, the Gentiles do that structure. We, as his followers, do not. Okay, we follow his example. He inverted that whole pyramid, and that's where it falls in that way with the church. And when you look at these mega churches, that's not the example you see. You see the world. You don't see this. So there is no lording it over you in the church. Okay, there is no such position. All right, it shall not be so among you, is what he says. But if somebody desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. Do you see anybody running around trying to be the servant, running all over the landscape looking for how they can serve you in the church? That's the one. that would be the leader, not the one who props himself up on a pedestal, has every floodlight aimed at him, every microphone is on him, and he's just in that spotlight. People are bringing him bottles of water, and he's got all the glory. Yeah, not that one, okay? That would be the other end of this. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first, okay? That thing. All right. So whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave. Whoever is serving you the most, that's the one to look up to. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. Okay, what did he come to do? Right? And to give his life a ransom for many. Many will be saved from this. So, okay, that's how it applies when you receive it. But it's offered to all, everyone. So, okay, and at the Last Supper, that's what the foot washing thing was supposed to demonstrate. All right, he came to serve, to give his life for the salvation of others. That's the ultimate example. We're just following in the footsteps, okay? But the way to operate is to serve others, not to seek to be served by others. So again, in these mega churches, you see the complete opposite of what's supposed to be taking place. So I would say people have no business there if they want to follow Jesus. Okay, aside from all the false things they'll say from that pulpit or stage, platform, pedestal, Okay, so moving on. But this is very important to pay attention to the structure here that's set up. It's the opposite of the world. That's how we are supposed to operate. No exceptions. Okay, 29. Now, as they went out of Jericho, a great multitude followed him. And behold, two blind men sitting by the road, when they heard that Jesus was passing by, cried out, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." Okay, so, and this is a messianic title, Son of David. That's how they were referring to him. Then the multitude warned them that they should be quiet, but they cried out all the more, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." So they cried out all the louder. Good for them. So Jesus stood still and called them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, that our eyes may be opened." So Jesus had compassion and touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. Okay, so that's another beautiful miracle of healing there. Okay, and it's still early enough, so I'll roll through with 21 here. Now when they, wait a second, gotta move this. Okay, 21. Now when they drew near Jerusalem and came to Bethphage, I guess that's pronounced that way, at the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent two disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything to you, you shall say, 'The Lord has need of them,' and immediately he will send them." All this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you, lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey." Okay, and that's from Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9. All right, so there's that much. And you know what's interesting? Again, I mean, that's what we have from the Bible, but that this guy knew to put a donkey out there. These are the details that I find interesting. that, like the upper room, happened in the same way. And I'm thinking, it was just me speculating, but that, there were plenty of followers and speculators too who thought maybe that is the Messiah. Well, if it is, according to Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9, he's going to do this. He's going to come riding in on a donkey. Well, then he's going to need a donkey, and maybe that's him, and, maybe he can use my donkey. I'd be honored if he used my donkey. Well, maybe he prayed about it and thought, yeah, okay, and I'm going to put my donkey out there on a rope, and I'll pray and offer this to God, that if that's the one, then let somebody come and ask for this donkey. And then he'll know all this is confirmed. And it could be, that something like that happened. And then here along come the disciples to untie the donkey. And that's why right away, yep, okay, that's it. You take the donkey. It's for you. It's for him. So these things probably worked out that way. I can just imagine. But again, I'm just speculating. The same thing with the upper room, because they come and say, where's the upper room that you said was available for, all that, and this Passover meal, and there it is, so it all just falls into place and happens. And the same thing with the burial tomb. I mean, it all comes together, it all falls into place, but these two specific things are similar in this way. I think that somebody prayed and thought, that's probably the Messiah. He's going to need this or that. I'd love it. I'd be honored if they'd use my upper room. I'm going to offer it and pray, and, God will grant this if that's the case, and it'll be confirmed, and it was. So I just picture that. So again, I'm just saying it's me thinking this, but I wouldn't be surprised, it had to come together. I don't think this guy just randomly put a donkey out there because he didn't have enough room somewhere in the stall, and it just so happened, I mean, the way it was said, so yeah, if anyone says anything, you shall say the Lord has need of them, and immediately he will send them. So it just seems like it was all ready in that way, And I just love these things because it's special. It's like the path is paved by these acts of offerings and sentimental things like that. Anyway. 6. So the disciples went and did as Jesus commanded them. They brought the donkey and the colt, laid their clothes on them, and set him on them. And a very great multitude spread their clothes on the road. Others cut down branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Then the multitudes who went before and those who followed cried out, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, so the Messiah. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. Okay, and I looked that up some time ago. I didn't know what Hosanna meant. It turns out it means save. It's like asking to be saved. So, like, they're hailing the king riding in on a donkey, like it says he'll do, but they're crying this out. That's Hosanna, which means save. So that's interesting. And deliver, but he does. That's exactly what he came to do, and that's the same week he does it in. So it's all prophetic. Okay, now, and when he had come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? So the multitude said, This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth of Galilee. Okay, now we get to this. Then, verse 12. Then Jesus went into the temple of God and drove out all those who bought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." Okay, and this was going on already back then, but this sort of sums up the whole situation with the modern church today. And there is some overturning of tables already going on, but I think that's going to get bigger as time moves on. So, I mean, it's pretty clear. It's not a business, okay? It's not a house of making money, all right? And that's what they've turned it into. And God's not happy about it, not at all. So, 14. Then the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple and saying, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they were indignant and said to him, "Do you hear what these are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes, have you never read? Out of the mouth of babes and nursing infants you have perfected praise." Then he left them and went out of the city to Bethany, and he lodged there. Okay. Now in the morning, as he returned to the city, he was hungry, and seeing a fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it but leaves, and said to it, "Let no fruit grow on you ever again." Immediately the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, "How did the fig tree wither away so soon?" So Jesus answered and said to them, "Assuredly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, 'Be removed and be cast into the sea,' it will be done. And whatever things you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive." Okay, so again, this gets into that whole moving mountains thing. And I did that video about that, mountains and faith and praying and all that. So we are not really able to physically do things unless it's like a miracle of some sort. Usually it's, well, miracles, but if it's physical, it's going to be like a provision type of miracle. I mean, we don't literally move mountains, so it's figurative speech. And, we're praying, we're asking, we're requesting. We cannot demand for anything to be done. And this was a physical thing with the tree, but it was symbolic. Okay, it's symbolic for a whole other thing. And that's why he did this and it happened. So we'll get to that more as it goes along. But there's a video on that whole issue. So watch that. So I'm not going to get into that all over again here now. 23. Now, when he came into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people confronted him as he was teaching and said, "By what authority are you doing these things? And who gave you this authority?" And I think they're talking about the overturning the tables, And anyway, so 24. But Jesus answered and said to them, "I also will ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John where was it from? From heaven or from men?" And they reasoned among themselves, saying, "If we say, 'From heaven,' he will say to us, 'Why then did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, we fear the multitude, for all count John as a prophet. So they answered Jesus and said, We do not know. And he said to them, Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. And I love this because there's more in here than what meets the eye, okay? And it's sort of like saying, as Jesus, he's saying, I don't answer to you. You answer to me, okay? I ask the questions around here, not you. I mean, not that he wasn't willing to answer a question, but there's the whole concept of equality in that sense here. Like, okay, but then I'm going to ask a question also. You can ask a question and I'm going to ask a question. And if you don't answer me, I won't answer you either. So there's all of that in this, okay? And he doesn't answer to anyone anyway. So, but that's all in here. And at the same time, he didn't tell them, well, it should be obvious where his authority is from by now, from the Father. But anyway, that's how he did that, by, the will of the Father, what happened in the temple, the turning tables over. But that's what it is. But he didn't even answer that because of the way they didn't want to answer him. So there's more hidden in that, and I love that. Okay. Now, 28. But what do you think? A man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, Son, go work today in my vineyard. He answered and said, I will not. But afterward he regretted it and went. Then he came to the second and said likewise, and he answered and said, I go, sir. But he did not go. Which of the 2 did the will of his father? Right? They said to him, the first. Jesus said to them, Assuredly I say to you that tax collectors and harlots enter the kingdom of God before you. For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But tax collectors and harlots believed him, and when you saw it, you did not afterward relent and believe him. Okay, so again, this is not to be taken out of context that harlots get into heaven without repenting. Of course not. They have to repent. But that's the whole point. John the Baptist did a baptism of repentance. So they came and repented, and they did it. And that's what this whole thing is about here. The ones who first say they won't, and then they do, they're the ones doing the will of the Father. The ones who say they will, but they don't, are the ones not doing the will of the Father. And that's what matters, right? Which of the 2 did the will of his Father? So he's saying, like, they did it, and you guys didn't. They still didn't, later either. So they still didn't do it, so they're the ones not doing the will of the Father. And that's it. Okay. Okay, all right. This is the one. So what I should do, this is the longer part, and the rest won't take that long. And we're at 34, so I'm going to start a new video just for this and finish out 21 and then 22. I'll be right back.